what a lot of times what we see here is just the surface, right? We only see people trying to come over here to better themselves. What we don't see is what's going on the bottom of that visual that we see, right? It's the victims are being created with the slave trade, with the sexual slave trade that is happening here in the United States and in Canada, right?
Yeah.
That capitalizes on all these people coming over here.
And as far as rates, like people crossing, I think that's something that's really not discussed. People are paying X amount to whomever on the other side of the border. Do you have any detail on what those rates would be? Is it done by route you take or nationality or what group you're working with?
So it varies, right? You have different groups controlling different corridors of the area, and they may charge depending on where you're coming from, whether they consider you a high value target or not, or a high value asset or not, right? So if you're maybe a Mexican that's trying to cross, they may charge you only $500, right? Compared to if you're from China, they may charge you, $5,000 to cross. So if you're, and these are all, of course, not exact numbers. This is just an assumption, right? Or like if you're coming from, per se, Iran or Iraq or any other country that we have already labeled as a potential terrorist group, they may charge you $10,000 to cut across.
And then you hear stories about people that owe an organization a certain amount of money, get brought over to the United States and sent to a factory or warehouse that organization owns, and they kind of work there for a certain amount of years to pay that off. How common would you say is that?
I don't have numbers with me, right? But my understanding, this is taking courses and from people that actually do this, right? And I'm going to answer this by saying this. The United States and Canada on the Western Hemisphere, right, are the number one consumers of the slave trade and the sex trade.
Yeah.
Right? So have we done sting operations when we grab groups or organizations that are doing this? Yes. But to give you an exact number, I don't have that data with me. Or to give you a ballpark number or how often it occurs.
No, I don't need numbers.
But that it occurs. It's happening, right? It happens. And it's happening as we speak.
As far as this, who it's happening to, would you say it's mainly adults or is it mainly kids? Or?
Wherever they can profit from. If it's, I think the vulnerable population will be children and women, but there's also been cases where men are being used for the same thing.